Well, Dylan, it's very difficult to describe Dylan, because a man of such extraordinary genius is very difficult to capture, and it's like water. You can't catch it in your hands. It's like trying to eat, I don't know, to eat something volatile with a fork. A very extraordinary man. And whatever you said to him, if he'd had his hair cut, for instance, you'd say, Dylan, you've had your hair cut. He says, yes, let me tell you about the barber. Let me tell you about the barber. And then he'd suddenly spin this extraordinary tale about the barber. You're absolutely fascinated for 2 hours, right? He never stopped. You couldn't really get near him as you can to most people. He was a genius. He inverted the metaphor, he twisted everything upside down.
You were living with him for a while, weren't you?
Well, we were doing a poetry reading together. He was reading Shelley. And I was reading Keats, I think. I'm not sure, the romantic poets. And I said, Dylan, we were in London. I said, Dylan, where are you staying? He said, I don't know. I said, well, you might as well come home with me. Right? So he came home and he stayed for 6 months. He was enchanting. I never saw him eat. I never, ever saw him eat.
What did you do then?
Drink.
What?
Anything. Except water.
And he was smoking cigar, wasn't he?
Eternally, yes. I never saw him with a cigar or no. And I remember one day somebody said to him, we were doing a radio broadcast. And radio is very important, or was very important in England. And the director of this particular thing, which is called In Parenthesis, said to Dylan, now Dylan, my dear chap, you're in no man's land between the Germans and the British, and you're dying, and you're a Welshman, and you're crying, screaming for your mother. And Dylan had a cigarette in his mouth. He said, okay. And that green light flickered, And Dylan screamed. I mean, he screamed as you cannot understand the idea of screaming, except in nightmares or vast dreams. Tremendous scream. And with a cigarette in his mouth all the time. He finished the scream and he turned to me and he said, I bet you couldn't scream like that with a cigarette in your mouth. Of course I couldn't.
But you were the one to whom or for whom he has written Under Milk Wood, I mean, to perform.
No, the first voice he wrote for himself, the second voice he wrote for me. And because he died, I played both.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, yes.
Would you tell me any of your favorite poems from Dylan Thomas?
Oh, I would say that, well, I don't know. He wrote about half a dozen lyrics, I think, which are remarkable. Will last, indeed, as long as the race lasts. I won't bore you with the whole poem, but there's one called Fern Hill, which is about Dylan's, all of Dylan Thomas's great poems are about his lost innocence, his lost childhood. He always refers back to his childhood. And Dylan, firmly believed that when he went to sleep as a child, the entire physical universe disappeared. Everything went, and he was left suspended in some sort of strange space of his own invention. And also, Dylan never says going to sleep, he says riding to sleep. Because in the next room was his dotty grandfather, who forever was riding an imaginary horse through the middle of the night. So Dylan says, just part of the poem. Says, all the sun long it was running, it was lovely, the hayfields high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys, it was air and playing, lovely and watery and fire, green as grass. And nightly, under the simple stars as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the nightjars flying with the ricks, and the horses flashing into the dark. And then, to awake, and the farm, like a wanderer, white with the dew, come back, the cock on his shoulder, it was all shining. It was Adam and Maiden. Not bad, is it?
Great. Great to hear. So far as I heard, you were in February in London when he was taken to Westminster Abbey, weren't you?
Yes, I was there. Yes.
You were doing a reading there of Dylan
I
Thomas
did
poems.
under Milford. I did the same thing as usual.
Was it how long ago have you been to London before this?
Oh,
For reading,
I was there. Oh, to work, I mean.
Yeah, to do this.
Oh, maybe 4 years or something like that.
Was it shocking for you? Was it a great experience?
Well, it was great to be back with my own people because everybody in that particular production was Welsh. And for the most part, they spoke Welsh, which is a very different language from English, as you know. And it was absolutely marvelous because the Welsh accent, when they speak English, is very different from the way the English speak English, if you know what I mean. So, Dylan himself spoke with a Welsh accent. So when another kind of illustration of Dylan's inversion of the metaphor is a famous poem of his called "And Death Shall Have No Dominion." Says, now you listen to just the first stanza. It says, "And death have no dominion. Dead men naked, they shall be one with the man in the wind and the west moon. When their bones are picked clean and the clean bones gone, they shall have stars at elbow and foot. Though they go mad, they shall be sane. Though they sink through the sea, they shall rise again. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion." Now, he says, and death shall have no dominion. Dead men naked, they shall be one with the man in the wind and the west moon. Now, it should be the man in the moon and the west wind. He twists it round, he turns it inside out. There's a kind of wittiness of his. He's a witty poet.